I'm the kind of person who loves rewatching YouTube videos from 15 years ago. There is just some special about them. No fake expressions for the camera, no flashy editing, just real people speaking from the heart about things that truly matter to them. It feels like you're sitting in the kitchen having a deep conversation with your best friend. And that's exactly how I want to talk to you today. The topic of this video, it's about the 3 types of behavior men tend to fall into when meeting women and trying to build relationships. If you are a new viewer, believe me, this might just split your life into before and after. And if while listening you start feeling defensive or want to disagree with me, that means I'm hitting the mark. That's actually a good sign. So let's get straight to the point. So, model number 1, the most common one. You know it. Everyone is tried it. It's the curtain method. You'll see it mentioned in every modern psychology article. Don't devalue yourself, don't be too available. The less we love a woman, the more she loves us back. It's the whole ideas of value balance, something I've talked about myself many times. But come on, we all know real life stories where a guy won the girl through consistent courting. I personally know at least 3, maybe even 4 cases where a guy spent 7 years giving gifts, writing her now and then, showing up, congratulating her on holidays, staying open, being there, even being the shoulder she cried on, literally. And in the end, she married him. So here is the question: how is that even possible? Because sometimes it actually works, and I'll go even further. This approach is probably going to start working more and more often. And do you know why? Alright, let's start with the downsides. What's the problem with this approach? Well, the truth is a lot of people today, both men and women, are full of internal conflicts that prevent them from building the kind of relationships they actually want. There is no such thing as a partner who'll create a perfect and internal fairy tale. It just doesn't exist. Let me give you an example. Take a woman who says she wants romance. She craves attention, affection, care, tenderness. Then she meets a man who actually offers her all of that. But you know what happens? There is no spark, no emotional high, no obsession. So, who does she actually fall for in real life? There are only 2 options. She falls for a man who's unavailable, he doesn't court her, he doesn't even really look at her, he might already be in a relationship. Maybe he doesn't care at all. And even if they somehow end up together, it won't last. He's simply not interested. So over time, she starts resenting him. You don't give me enough attention, you don't do this or that. Eventually, he leaves. Then she meets another guy, one who's ready to give her the world. He's loyal, patient, devoted. But now she's like, well, yeah, he's a good guy, but I just don't feel it. And she walks away on her own. This is a classic case of inner contradiction. She wants love, she wants care, but when it's handed to her, she rejects it. And what happens as a result? Starting from her late teens, say 18 and until 27 or 30, it becomes a cycle. Relationship, breakup. Relationship, breakup. Every breakup chips away at her more and more. It's painful. Life, in its own way, is trying to wake her up, telling her, your worldview isn't working. You need to reevaluate how you see relationships. But often people don't want to admit that. And then it gets worse. Her friends start getting married. Her parents start nudging her. We want grandkids already. She sees herself aging and she feels it. Her attractiveness is no longer what it once was. So what happens now? Well, if there is a man who's been consistently courting her for years, the safe, reliable guy, he suddenly becomes a real option. And that's how a lot of relationships actually form. Seriously, I've seen many real life stories just like this. Women would say for 7 straight years, I'll never been with him. I don't even consider him. I'm not attracted to him at all. And then, boom, almost overnight, something clicks and she's with him. Now, does this work? Yeah, sometimes it does. But if we are talking about what that means for men, what the downsides are, well, let's dig into that next. Downside number 1, a terrible investment. Let's be real. All the effort a man puts into chasing a woman doesn't come out of thin air. He sacrifices something. That time, that energy, it could have gone toward personal growth, improving his skills, building a business, making more money, or even just enjoying his own life. Instead, he gives it all up to her. That's a serious drawback. In doing so, he limits his own development, and on top of that, he ends up living in constant state of background anxiety, always wondering, will it ever pay off? Will she ever choose me? And then comes big mistake. Let's say after years of chasing, the woman finally says yes. She agrees to be with him, maybe even marries him. What's the man thinking? I've had this conversation with guys during coaching sessions. I ask them, be honest, you thought that once she says yes, the relationship would finally be on your terms, right? And they say, yeah, I really did think that. You know, like it's some fairy tale. You sit on the throne, she becomes a loving wife, a perfect mother, everything runs smoothly, happily ever after. All you needed was her agreement, the yes, the wedding ring, and then boom, you've conquered Everest. She's yours now. Done deal. But here is the cold truth. It doesn't work that way. The very dynamic that got her interested, the energy, the imbalance. That's what she signed up for. That's what attracted her. That's why she said yes. So, guess what? That dynamic isn't going to change. Your relationship will continue on the same terms as before. She won't suddenly become more submissive, more appreciative, or start treating you like the prize. In fact, she still sees herself as the prize. And you, well, you're the guy who finally got lucky. One more major downside. You completely lose your identity. You dissolve into the other person, their needs, their wants, their worldview, their lifestyle. You start living her life instead of your own. And if this is the path you're on, you have to be ready for one thing. You'll spend the rest of your life being convenient. You'll be expected to agree with everything. No friction, no challenge, no opinion that pushes back. The moment you say, wait, I don't agree with that, you'll hear something like, listen, no one is forcing you to be here. Why did you even propose then? If you're not happy, go. This is a bad deal. But the worst part, after years of chasing, a man can get so emotionally attached that he doesn't even have personal desires anymore. He finds joy in anything as long as it's with her. If she says, let's learn knitting together, he lights up, sure, sounds great. And he's not faking. He really means it. He's addicted. It's dependency. The kind that feels sweet, but is slowly erasing who he is. Here is another risk, and this one depends on the woman's character. She will be attracted to other men. Not necessarily right away, maybe in a year, maybe in 5, but eventually she'll crave butterflies again. That electric feeling, that rush of something new. Will she act on it? That depends. Her values, her upbringing, her beliefs, they'll all come into play. This kind of relationship where she marries after years of being courted, it only kinda worked back when there were clear expectations, a code of conduct for how a wife should behave. Or maybe today, in rare cases, if she's deeply religious and those beliefs generally shape her behavior. If she truly transforms from girlfriend to wife and takes that shift seriously, then maybe. Maybe this model can still work. But let's be honest, that's rare, extremely rare. So what happens most of the time? She runs the relationship. Everything goes according to her rules. Best case scenario, she stays. Worst case, she leaves and eventually comes back. Which, let's be honest, guys in that position usually celebrate. But they shouldn't, because it doesn't mean she values you. It just means she knows you are still there. So even if you are been living together for a while, she might leave. Why? Because she meets someone else. And guess what? That relationship doesn't work out either. Why? Same old reasons, same internal conflicts, same pattern, same results. Then one day she shows up at your door again with, "I realized something, I was stupid, I love you." And you know what's wild? Some people live like this their entire lives. And I'm not talking about teenagers or emotionally immature guys. I mean grown, successful, respectable men. Men who are doing well in their life, but the woman they attach to is just more attractive, more socially valuable. And this whole dynamic just keeps on playing out. Every single achievement in that man's life becomes about her, for her. He's aiming his entire life toward that one person. Now, you've heard all the downsides. Let's be fair. Are there any positives? I thought about this for a long time. There have to be some, right? Well, maybe two. And they're not very obvious. Pro number one, you don't have to change. You get to live your life inside this romanticized version of love, that storybook vibes. Yes, there are emotional ups and downs, so lots of them. Sometimes you feel amazing, full of hope and energy. Sometimes you'll feel crushed and worthless, but at least those feelings are strong. You can use them, they keep you alive in some way. It's a roller coaster, but at least it moves. You don't have to force yourself to change, to face pain, to tear your worldview apart and rebuild it. You just adapt. You get used to it. You learn to live in that emotional rhythm, and for some people, that's enough. That's probably the only plus I can honestly name. But other than that, I don't really see any. Let's get one thing clear. When it comes to these kinds of relationships, the foundation is usually not logic. It's not shared values, it's not compatibility, it's infatuation. That's what drives the choice. And now, here is what men often don't realize in these situations. They think she's one of a kind, unique, irreplaceable, like 101% perfect. There is no one else like her, period. But let's be honest, that's an illusion. Here's build a whole inner world where that's true. In reality, it could have been someone else. If the timing, energy, and emotional chemistry were similar, he would have felt the same exact way. That's the truth nobody wants to hear. But it's real. And here is the kicker. Once a man has lived in this kind of attachment for 3 or 4 years, he's done. He won't ever be able to bond that deeply with anyone else again, not in the same way. The emotional anchor, it's locked in. All right, let's talk about scenario 2, the so-called balanced relationship. Sounds better, right? This is where a man thinks he's found a reasonable middle ground. He brings attention, affection, maybe even gifts. he courts her, he listens, he invests his time and energy, but, and this is important, he also watches whether she values it. He wants a reciprocal connection, not one-way performance. Sounds smart. But here is a big fat problem. You are giving her an emotional traffic jam. In the beginning, the guy's creating this emotional highway. Dates, surprises, patience, late night talks, gifts, support. He's her personal Netflix, Uber, therapist, and stand-up comedian all rolled into one. She's feeling it. She's loving it. Maybe she even says, "Thank you, I've never had this before." Cool, right? But here is what he doesn't expect. At some point, he shifts into serious relationship mode. No more performance, just life. Boring, beautiful, regular life. And suddenly, she's cold. She's annoyed. She's moody. She's not into it anymore. She starts throwing out little complaints. I want to go there. I don't feel like this. Why aren't we doing that anymore? Or worse, she says nothing, but the spark is just gone. And the guys left wondering what the hell happened. Here is what happened. You built your palace on emotional adrenaline, and now the party's over. You gave her a foundation of fireworks, then switched to flickering candles. And she doesn't want to sit in the dark. You know why most men don't even question what's happening? Because when you're investing in a woman, your time, your energy, your intention, her value rises in your eyes. Every date, every gift, every moment, it builds up. But here is the twist. She's not investing back, not in the same way. She's just comfortable. Maybe she's even grateful. Maybe she's nice. But she's not feeling what you are feeling. Not even close. So what has happened? You think we are growing something deep here. She thinks this is nice for now. That's why after 2, 3, 4 years, you hit the wall. You are confused. She's detached. You are attached. She's bored. That's it. That's the cycle. Now let's get uncomfortable. Let's talk about why you choose her in the first place. Most men say, she's not just beautiful, she's stunning. Okay. But ask yourself this. Have you ever seen a guy go all in on a woman he wasn't attached to? Like, really not physically into. Think hard. Me. I've done hundreds of coaching calls, and I've never heard a man say, you know what, she's average at best, but I just love her mind. That's a fantasy. It's not how this starts. Real talk. Attraction drives investment. Ugliness really inspires effort. So yeah, when a guy's going out of this way, taking her places, buying her things, planning weekends, losing sleep, He's doing it because he thinks she's beautiful, and that's the raw truth. Now, here is the punch in the gut. That obsession with her beauty, it doesn't last. Not because she's changed, but because your brain gets used to her. At first, she's a goddess, a vision, a firework. Every glance is dopamine. But a year later, two, you are used to it. You start noticing other women. She doesn't excite you the way she did, not visually. And when the beauty fades in your eyes, what's left? Seriously, what's left? What remains is how others perceive her. That's where it gets toxic. Men stay attached not to the woman, but to the image of her, to the status she gives them. Look who I'm with. Everyone sees she's a 10. It becomes less about love and more about social validation. Let's cut the romance. What's the man actually paying for? Not love, not mutual connection. He's paying for validation. He's spending money, time, energy, and emotional bandwidth so that other men, completely strangers, look at this girl and think, damn, I'd tap it. That's it. That thumbs up from other guys. That's the dopamine hit. He's buying respect from people who don't even know him by showcasing a woman who doesn't necessarily love him. And the worst part, he calls that love. He tells himself, she's special, I do anything to her. But he's not doing it for her. He's doing it for how it makes him feel about himself. That's not romance, that's betrayal. Not of her, of himself. Was it always like this? No. This system of courtship, it's not eternal, not natural, not biological. Let's look back, prehistoric times. There was no courting the beauty. You weren't bringing flowers to the cave. You weren't writing poetry on stone tablets. Women were chosen for fertility, for survival skills, for how well they could gather, birth, and raise children. And guess what? Her consent, optional. You made a deal with her father or the tribe, or you simply took her, depending on the rules of the day. Was it ethical by today's standards? Absolutely not. But was it romantic? Definitely not. The whole idea of giving gifts, spending months proving yourself, hoping for approval, it's modern, it's cultural, it's a performance. And you've been cast in the lead role, whether you signed up for it or not. Let's talk about ancient Greece. Men and women lived in separate worlds. The house was divided, the women's quarters and the men's. A wife couldn't enter her husband's space without invitation. Going out into the city alone? Shameful. Respectable women rarely appeared in public without a male escort. Marriage, it was a deal. You weren't chosen for your smile or your character. You were chosen for your lineage, dowry, and political value. Did the bride like the groom? Didn't matter. She was a vessel of inheritance, a way to build alliances, a means to an end. Now, here is the irony. Pleasure and emotional connection were not part of marriage. That's what heteria were for. Heteria were women outside of marriage, but with freedom, voice, and choice. They could speak, they could think, but they could never be chosen as wives. They received gifts, they were trusted with thoughts, they inspired philosophers, poets, and leaders, but no one ever married them. As for the Romans, they adopted much of their traditions from the Greeks. Marriages were arranged primarily for financial gain or to boost social status. The bride's consent was considered desirable, but not mandatory. However, the groom's father's approval was absolutely required, so dragging some girl off the street was simply impossible. In the Middle Ages, women were often seen as vessels of sin. Beauty was condemned, and premarital relationships were punished with the strictest penalties. At that time, it was believed that a woman couldn't control herself. She simply wasn't capable, and therefore a man had to control her, a husband, a father, or an elder brother. And now, how did that romanticization of women begin? It started in France between the 11th and 20th centuries. Noblemen, a small group of wealthy people, came up with something like a game. They would choose a noble lady who was often already married. The man was supposed to win her over with gifts, songs, poems, and gallant behavior. But here is the catch. The love was meant to be platonic. It was just a feeling, just drama, just an emotional experience without physical contact. So the idealization was more of a game. No one actually chose their wife with this way. Gradually, the era of romanticism arrived, and this was heavily influenced by artists who promoted the idea that feelings are far more important than reason or tradition. You know what surprised me? I once talked to some Jewish people, and according to their traditions, the mind must rule over feelings. That blinding passion is a bad thing. Among observant Jews, courtship is forbidden because Austinianus' generosity clouds the mind, and people should focus on analyzing each other clearly. If we talk about Japan, there is a whole different story. The phrase "I love you" didn't even exist there until the late 19th century. And even now, it's not very common. It's believed that if you all live together, why say it? What's the point? And if you don't live together, then you need to show your intentions through actions, not words. The Japanese have a particular custom. In many families, husbands and wives sleep in separate beds. When one Japanese person was asked in an interview why this is, so he said that after the wedding, the feeling toward the wife as a woman disappears, and you start seeing her more as a member of your family, and that's it. So what we're discussing now might seem crazy to many, but if we look at the results, the number of divorces, single mothers, broken families, we come to the conclusion that the existing traditions, the whole relationship format, the preliminary dating phase, it works quite poorly, if not terribly. In this context, I consider the initial courting phase to be hypocrisy. All the best, kind, and sincere relationships I know in life are built without courting. The man simply didn't see any sense in it, and the woman didn't need it. Does a woman really need to choose a husband, to choose the head of the family, the future father of her children? Is she going to base her decision on what feelings she will have in the next 3 to 6 months? No, she thinks in completely different terms. For this reason, in most cases, when a man and a woman meet on a dating site, what are they doing? He is looking for a heteria, and she's trying to be a heteria with all her Instagram and photos. Let me repeat, a heteria shouldn't only be beautiful, but also an educated and well-rounded person capable of interesting conversation. Yes, nowadays you can often meet such women, but that doesn't stop her from being a heteria, even if she can talk to you about family values. If her profile says she is looking only for serious relationships, it usually means she's searching for a long-term project from which she can get emotional benefits. In most cases, that's how it is. Men haven't moved far from this either. They happily believe in this illusion. So, they sit at their first meeting, lying to each other over a cup of coffee, talking about what kind of relationship they want to have. He lies, she lies. All she wants is an impression, and all he wants is also an impression. So here we have stopped. So, what is courting in this context? I said women are needed for emotions, but does it really give exactly what a woman dreams of? No. A woman wants to love and dream about a man, and she herself strives for him. Therefore, courting is a compensation for a low degree of attractiveness. That's what it is. If you can't give me emotions as a person, if I can't need you, then work for it. Take me to the sea, give me impressions, buy those impressions, create those impressions. That's how it works. And men, not knowing how to find an approach to a woman, focus only on her emotions, gave a gift, did something, made her smile, so it works. And of course, if you've been living by the first or second behavior model for a long time, you won't be able to suddenly switch to the third one, because that would just be pretending, trying to suddenly act important and dominant, but pretending never worked for you in your life. Remember, none of your relationships ended well when you tried to hold back your fears of her leaving, or when you liked her too much. All those stories ended badly. We can only get real results by being sincere. Even a pushover in the first scenario sometimes gets results because he genuinely embodies that behavior. It's like a bodybuilder at the gym. He can pretend to be a newbie, but a newbie can never really pretend to be a bodybuilder. And the guy who tries to bench press 100 kilograms one day well, that workout was basically wasted. So if you just watched some content and immediately tried to do something with a particular woman and didn't get results, that's not training. That's a shot in the dark. And success in relationships, importantly, is only loosely connected to other achievements or skills. In other words, the ability to communicate with women must be developed separately and deliberately. It really doesn't matter who the man is or what he does. Here is a small but important piece of advice. What should you do to move closer to the third behavior model? To start attracting women who actually want to build something with you, who might even start courting you in return. Listen, if you want to develop the skill of communicating with women, stop pursuing the ones you feel like chasing. From this moment on, avoid that. Instead, talk to women who are easy for you to talk to. Women you don't feel the urge to impress or win over. That's where you build your communication muscle. Over time, you'll accumulate positive experiences, and your perception of how many women are actually available and interested in you will expand. A year and a half, maybe two, and suddenly you'll realize that the kind of woman you would have chased in the past is now the one making the effort with you. If you aim too high, too soon, going after women who make you nervous, then you're just going to fall back into old behavior patterns, because under stress, people always revert to what's familiar. And that means no growth, no real effectiveness.